Traffic Jam with Kareem.
Thursday at 4 p.m.
Hey, Traffic Jam. Rainier Avenue Radio, download the app so you don't miss out what's popping, what's cracking, what's shining. It's your boy, Cream the Dream, on another beautiful week on here on Traffic Jam in Seattle. I hope you guys doing what you're supposed to do, being you're supposed to be. I got a good show for y'all, a lot to talk about, create, dream, keep up with everything.
Get your entertainment news with Kareem on the Traffic Jam, Thursday at 4 p.m.
Are you in need of new or gently used clothing? Hope's Community Closet is here to help. We offer a wide range of clothing for men, women, youth, children, and infants. Join us on the fourth Saturday of each month from 12:30 to 4 at the Silent Task Force. We're giving clothing with care, community with heart. Lovely Ladies Lemonade for sale, and shop to the sound of old school soul. Any questions? Contact Alicia Kennedy, Executive Director of Women United at 206-316-7601. 206-316-7601. Come and find the perfect outfit for you and your family. We look forward to seeing you there.
No, you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Juan, Cotto touching bases with you on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Happy holidays as we're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday, and we hope that you and your families will get together as the air is starting to turn just a little bit cooler in the Pacific Northwest and in the Seattle area. The turn of the seasons, lessons from the fall, momentum for the winter, and the changing culture of high school sports. The air turns a little cooler, as we said. The gym lights warm up, and Washington's high school sports communities move from the outdoor energy of the fall, it was that state football playoff game the other day, to the indoor passion of winter. And this episode explores what these transition means for athletes, coaches, administrators, and for the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, Mick Hoffman. Welcome to WIAA Primetime.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hey, now, Juan, we're not all indoors in the winter. Our toughest athletes, those girls, first sanctioned state game tonight out at Issaquah.
You know, Mick, I talked to a couple of my friends at O'Day who are coaching teams, I believe, at Kent Meridian, and they were telling me they're going to be out there in the toughest weather of the year. And I tell you, the guys, as you can imagine, O'Day alumni who are coaching down there, obviously, I mean, they are treating it like it is football. And from what they were telling me, that the young women that are participating treat it like it is football. And that is a really exciting opportunity. Tell me how that came about.
Well, I mean, we had schools starting to show some interest. The Seahawks got heavily involved, and the NFL has made a big push, trying to get women more involved in football. So they've done it from a fan perspective. Now they want to do it from a player perspective. So we definitely had schools in our office was interested if schools wanted to do it, to support it. And we had some great leadership. James Neal down in the Tacoma School District did one of our first pilots along with Wendy Malledge when she was in Franklin Pierce, and then Seattle with Tara Davis, and Pat McCarthy jumped on board the following year. And then John Applegate and others on the east side of the lake got involved. And we have over 130 schools right now that are going to end up playing this winter. The schools voted it in. It's like anything, schools have to say. And amendment went forward from them, and they passed it. So we are off and running.
I'm sorry, I think it was Kentwood High School. They have 90 girls coming out. The guys were saying that they have 90 girls out there. They're going to try to break the team into varsity and JV, and they said that they've got 5 coaches. They've got their hands full. We were talking different types of potential offenses and defenses, and they're running through the cover 4 and cover 2 and running all. If you are a strategist, if you like that kind of thing, which I do, they were really sharing with me. They're going to really be putting some exotic concepts in, and these gals are all picking it up. They're really, really exciting.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's what we've seen the last couple of years is they're football players. I mean, they're going out there and competing and learning the strategy and the competition. And what we foresee happening is right now we have a lot of football coaches coaching, tackle coaches coaching flag, right? Teaching the concepts of football to young ladies who maybe didn't grow up playing. And in 5-6 years, those young ladies are going to come back and be football coaches and both tackle and flag. So it'll be interesting to watch over the years, similar to what we're seeing in wrestling currently.
And as usual, I mean, some of the guys are telling me that they have some speed out there. They have some receiver types and a couple of young ladies who can throw the football a country mile. And they were saying that if they really wanted to, they could probably come out and play with the boys. They say that some of them are that fast and that talented.
Yeah, no, it's going to be real. I mean, I think people who aren't familiar with it are going to be blown away. And, our winter season, the reason schools are playing in the winter is that's our lowest number of athletes participation across the state in general, and definitely for girls. And then what we're seeing is, gymnastics is getting tougher and tougher for schools to be able to offer because of costs and facilities, limited costs, limited coaches. That's a sport that club is really kind of overrun, which is too bad, from an access point of view. And then with wrestling growing. So we're hoping wrestling continues to grow for women and that this is for the, young ladies who weren't doing anything already.
Well, it's always exciting to hear some of the new things. And Mick, I wanted to give you just maybe a chance to plug one of the features of WIAA Primetime. My wife wanted me to let you know that she's been able to keep up with a variety of different sports, and it's because of the emails, but she's getting so much information now that she hadn't seen before from the WIAA, and maybe you can plug the app and some of the things that you are doing technology-wise to make sure that people are able to keep up with the scores. And how does one download that, or how does one get this type of information? Because it's really exciting to see where schools are all across the state and some of the games that are going on and some of the championships that are being rewarded.
Yeah, no, well, tell her thanks for using it. When I started 7 years ago, it was frustrating for me as I'm driving around the state and I want to stop and watch a game on a Tuesday night as I'm rolling through Eastern Washington or Northwest Washington. I couldn't find them. Like there wasn't a centralized place with scores and schedules. So that became our goal. And we have, like Andy Knapp in our office and now Sean Bassett and Bryn Langrock have just done a great job with our communications and promotion. So the app WI Live, that's a place you can jump on. You can follow your favorite teams. It's very similar to what you get with ESPN. Not quite as flashy, but as functional. And then that feeds right into our website, WIA.com, where we have the Scorebook Live provides a scoring ticker for us that updates with scores and schedules. You can go back and find them. And then on the website, there's a league, about us. You can find league standings that is fed by Mark Martin, who's now with Arbiter. Used to be WPA, was his company out of Linden. And so we have tried to centralize that information, knowing that there's other media covering it, but there's a spot you can go. And then from there, go follow feature stories and what media does from there on both the app and the website is a Tournament Central. So this time of the year, that's where you can find the brackets. Again, Mark Martin with WPA providing those for us, and Andy's updating them. So you can find brackets, you can track scores by quarter or halves, depending on the sport. So we're trying to give our fans the opportunity to follow multiple games from one location.
Well, it's really special, not only for the parents and also the fans, but it's also great for people who just like to keep up with high school sports in general. And it's a really unique edition, and I'm hoping that people get that message out to their school bases and their fan bases, and make sure that people are able to follow all of the action going on on at the WIAA. All of the activities are listed, and like I said, it's something that it allows us to keep up with a variety of information and a lot of information that's really important to the schools and the kids who are out there. And sometimes at the last minute, you can find out if there's a game going on, so that's always cool too.
Yeah, I mean, our app has more followers than a lot of colleges, believe it or not, just because of the information that's on there and how organized it is, which is, an awesome compliment again to our staff. That's not Mick Hoffman. I just say, hey, I want to be able to find score schedules and games, and they figure out how to do it. And I'll give you an example. Saturday morning, I got up over in Yakima. I had Tammy with me. So my wife gets to live the luxurious life of wake up at a little hotel in Yakima. We hit the road. We hit 3 soccer sites during the course of the day, checking in on people, saying hi. Got to watch at least a half or a full contest in 3 of those. And then we headed before we hit the freeway to head home, we stopped at Mount T and we caught the Lincoln Mount Tahoma football game. So, and the entire time while we're on the move, if I'm driving, she's on the app giving me updates of what's going on, where and how, or when we're at an event trying to figure out our next move, we're using that app to get there. So, it's a very functional tool in addition to just good information. So this weekend with semifinal football all over the place, you can get on there and you can plan out your day. So.
Tammy, going back to Sheila E's living the glamorous life that Mick Hoffman traveling across the state in that Ford wagon that you have. I want to put in a plug real quick, Mick, too. I obviously with Memorial Stadium being down in Seattle right now with construction on a brand new facility, the Oakview Group. I think that everyone has been familiar with the Seattle Center's longtime Memorial Stadium and the impact that's had on our community, and several of us who played there. And there's a renovation going on, and right now they've had to move games around. And I have to put in a plug, but I tell you, Renton Stadium is a really nice facility.
It's beautiful.
First of all, the food is really good. I've always loved watching the planes take off and the left-hand traffic pattern for you pilots out there, the left-hand traffic pattern with the Cessnas. But they've really renovated that particular venue, and I'm surprised more games aren't played there, Mick. It was a fantastic place to see that some of the stadiums have grown up in the South Sound.
Yeah, no, Renton has done a phenomenal job, and Damian, their superintendent, he's a homegrown kid, so he takes a lot of pride in Renton and their facilities. And as they've developed that facility and continued to build out their athletic leadership, Jordan's there now, they're making it more and more available to others. And what a cool thing that they're helping out Seattle public schools in the Metro League with hosting while the Seattle Memorial is down. So yeah, it's that's what our schools do. I mean, in that when the community supports a facility like that, what the community realizes is all those businesses around there, right? They're selling a few more cheeseburgers. There's a few more pops. There's more gas being pumped because people are coming out watching. Our attendance so far this year has been really good. People, we got great talent, good kids, and people appreciate what they're doing. So, yeah, Renton School District's really stepped up the last few years, and we really appreciate it.
We appreciate what they're doing, and we appreciate what you do, Mick Hoffman. He is the executive director of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. This is WIAA Primetime, where we get together on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month to sit down and have a conversation about high school athletics and the direction and the mission and the vision of the executive director's office and of the office and employees of the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association. Let's take a moment to reflect and transitions. Tell us about some of the biggest takeaways from this fall sports season on and off the field that you believe influence that can have some influence coming up as we're heading into the winter.
Yeah, first I gotta get better with my names. Jesse's actually the new district AD in Renton, helping with Tara open up the place. Yeah, so some of our biggest takeaways is, man, there are incredibly talented kids from cross country, some of the times we saw there, swimming, I mean, multiple state records set. Volleyball, we had a few Division I athletes. Again, we talked a lot about, make your place your Super Bowl. But we have kids that are playing in there that are going anywhere from Wazoo to Miami to you name it. I mean, we had one, she's going to Oregon. And so, but a multitude, just incredibly talented kids. On the other, our attendance, like I said, has been good. People are showing up and watching. Luckily, we've had decent weather other than slow pitch. On the other side, we're seeing the ejections continuing to go up a little bit, especially on the student participants. So need to work on that one a little bit. But as far as our events, they look great. Kids are performing hard. We've had very few issues at them with participants. Kids are sad when they lose. They're handling it well. So
Tell us a little bit about the ejections. Is this something that may be a byproduct of the pandemic? I think we're seeing it more in sports today, even at the college and professional level. I think there's been a few more celebrations. There's a few more gestures. And the surprise, Mick, to me is that more coaches are mouthing off a little bit back and forth with players at a variety of different levels. And I'm wondering if this is one of those ancillary byproducts that spills into our level of competition and then obviously at the high school level.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the kind of information we get hit with every day. There's so much conflict just everywhere in our communities, right? It's not a lot of people. I mean, you guys just went through and did an amazing job covering the political races. And it's not like you have two similar candidates. There's huge divisions in philosophy throughout the country, throughout the world. And I think it plays out in a microcosm in our schools with that. Social media, there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown back and forth before competitions. So, a lot of tough guys on the social media, and then all of a sudden they go rolling in and they either get called out or have to back it up. And it leads to escalation in physical fights. And so we hear a lot when we actually go in and do that. So I think that's part of it. But I will tell you, I just was up at Kings, Dan Taylor and Kings with the Wesco League, hosted a sportsmanship summit. Unbelievable. It's like the energy in there, 600 students. And they were working on actual plans, like what can they do to make this stuff better. So I see great hope with this in the future, as long as we stay intentional. I'll tell you, the one place that we've really identified an opportunity to get better is assistant coaches. You mentioned it, coaches talking more. Of our 17 coaches that were ejected this fall, I believe 13 of them were assistant coaches. And so, the officials will talk to the head coach, but that assistant coach coming up over the shoulder, chipping, getting that last shot in, that's what's got to end. Because one, it doesn't help, right? Officials not going to change their call. They're not going to get better if you think they're bad. The other thing, the kids are hearing it. So now all of a sudden, if the coaches are doing it and the assistant coach on top of everything else is doing that in front of the kids, what do you think kids are going to do? So, we really need to, we've been sharing that kind of data with our ADs and our coach association saying, hey, what can we do to try to rein that in a little bit?
Mick, we are now in the position where we have, we don't have as many 2-sport and 3-sport players. However, we do have a few, and on the girls' side in particular, there's a lot of young ladies that play a fall sport and then they move into a winter sport. How are school athletic directors managing the overlap? If you're at a school that's in the football playoffs and you want to play basketball, how do the athletic directors manage that? And when the fall playoffs and the winter practices sort of bump into each other schedule wise?
Yeah, our ADs, our schools for a long time have really wanted to avoid as much overlap as possible. So most other states, their seasons actually overlap regular season, and postseason is in addition. So Oregon's usually a week or two longer into the season than us even. But our schools, that's kind of been the quandary, is our schools want to avoid overlap, right? Because especially our small schools, we have so many small schools where they have to play multi-sport athletes, but at the same time, I'll play more games, right? So it's squeezing them in, fitting them in. All schools do it differently. Some schools will give a kid some time off. Like they believe in, even if they make a long postseason run, we don't have especially if they don't have a lot of league games early in the season, they'll let kids have some time off, kind of refresh and come back. Some we're getting requests for kids to be able to finish their soccer season while they're on the basketball team, or play football games and be on the basketball team playing in games. And our rules say you can only be on one roster per season. Those are two different seasons, even though they're overlapping. So the answer officially was, yeah, you can do it. Is that what's best for the kid? We know the kid doesn't want to miss any basketball games, but is that the best thing? So we let schools work with their families and do that. Again, giving families say when there's not a rule that dictates the outcome. So everyone does a little different. Coaches are getting more and more knowledgeable around the need for rest, nutrition, and hydration. So, wrestlers right now, they're getting going through their process. So there's more provisions in place, but it's really still up to school and family choice in a lot of situations.
Let's just talk about the differences a little tiny bit between going from the outdoor sports, obviously except for the flag football, but from the outdoor sports to the indoor sports. And we have these big fields and golf, and of course we do have volleyball that's indoors as well in the fall. But in terms of you touched on sportsmanship, scheduling, and community engagement. Are there any things that the winter sports, do they get a little bit of momentum from the fall sports? Is there anything that's kind of learned about the student activity, parent participation as we move into the winter that is helpful from the fall?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest momentum is if you've had a successful football season, which may not even be a deep playoff run, but just a good season for your school. That usually brings a lot of energy because that's really a community sport, right? Communities come out and watch that, largest spectator sport. So as far as momentum, as far as just the mechanics of it, the winter sports are a lot tougher to manage, right? The fans are right on the floor, specifically basketball. They're right there. They're shoulder to shoulder. It's loud. Football, some of our stadiums you can't even hear. The knucklehead in the stands, you can't hear it, right? Coaches, as a coach, heck, you don't have a parent sitting right behind your bench in your ear or doing the thing right across from you where you can almost touch them, and then sometimes they do. So those are issues. They're not a collision sport, but they're contact sports without pads. So they can still be pretty physical, which can also create some opportunities. They're fast-paced. And with the amount of athleticism that we have in our high school and middle school kids, officiating's tough in those games. And so, they present a whole nother challenge. We usually see more complaints around fan behavior during the winter because they're more vocal, easier to hear. So, I know our schools administrators. As a basketball coach, I love it. As a player, I loved it. As an administrator managing the crowds, oh, baby, here we go. So, I guess that's probably the biggest challenge. Wrestling, very similar. Parents are used to being down close on the field. We'll see what happens, what kind of fans we get out for flag football, see if they're as tough as their daughters and their nieces and their granddaughters. Gymnastics, usually pretty good, but we actually had an ejection in gymnastics last year. So trying to get away from those things.
Oh, I know how. I'm sure you and I might feel the same about this, and I've promised myself not to be as sarcastic, but there's nothing better when you're coaching to have a parent yelling at you a situation that's going on and yelling at the coaches and making some suggestions. And after I always told those parents I would meet with them and I tell them, if you want to come and go through 13 months of training in a 12-month year, if you want to come to all of the camps and clinics, and if you want to run all of the strength and conditioning programs we do at 6:00 in the morning and all through the summer, and if you want to do all of that, I would allow you to come in and make all the suggestions you want. No one ever took me up on it. As you know, it's a lot easier to coach on game night than it is to actually run the program. That is for sure. How does the WIAA measure a successful seasonal transition beyond just participation and attendance? And that obviously falls on your outstanding staff down there. What do they do to transition, and really how do they measure the effectiveness of all the things you guys are working on?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've actually been talking this year. I like talking about a positive culture, and it's important that you see we deal with about 90% negative, no different than coaching and teaching and everything else. You get the problems brought to you when you're in leadership, and people have got ideas and suggestions. So if you're measuring it based on those kind of communications, it's pretty frustrating. So we've been talking as a staff, and I'd be curious to get outsiders' perspective of what is the scoreboard for the WIA. One of the things we do is we started after event surveys a couple of years to ask participants about their experience, especially specific things. If there's something we tried new, something we were thinking about, for example, with our volleyball tournament, it ends up going really late and we start really early. I mean, people are in the gym 16, 17 hours if they're working the event or the officials and all that. And so, over a couple of days, that's a haul. Same thing with swimming. So like for volleyball, one of the things we're going to talk to them about, would they want to have a shorter day so you're not potentially that game ending at 11:30 or starting at 8 o'clock? So does that mean you're okay with shortening up the warm-up time? Because in our tournament, we give a lot of warm-up time, more so than most states on the court. Would you be okay with consolation games being best of 3 rather than 5? Is that more important than, playing all 5? Is that more important than getting out there at a decent time? So we're trying to find a way. And when we do implement something different, right, we know it's successful through the surveys by the feedback we get. So we can do it more than just anecdotal or subjective. We really want to be able to put numbers to it. So, that's probably the biggest one that we're working on as a staff is what should our scoreboard be? What exactly is that? How do we know when we win? Because a lot of us are coaches and players, scoreboard wise, and then internally, your own personal goals. So we're good at setting goals, but bigger picture with our membership, how do we know when we're doing it right for them? So it's a very good question.
How do we win at Rainier Avenue Radio? Well, we do that by hitting the 27-minute bumper so we can go to a profit center. And Daniel's going to kick us off for 3 minutes. But when he's done with his 3 minutes of sharing with you important information, we'll be back talking about high school sports on WIAA Primetime on your community radio station, RainierAvenueRadio.world.
RainierAvenueRadio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at RainierAvenueRadio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
Hey, Seattle, here are some storage tips to love food, stop waste. Onions make potatoes sprout faster. Keep onions away from potatoes. Ripe bananas give off a gas that makes the fruit around them ripen faster. Store bananas away from other fruits. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
On RainierAvenueRadio.world, look for the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show. I'm Dennis Weaver, your good food guide and host, helping you to feel good and look good, and who wouldn't want some of that? All that and more from the Change Your Food, Change Your Life show on RainierAvenueRadio.world. Stories, songs, and guests. Begin living the organic good food life, and the rest of your life just may be the best of your life. Always up, baby, to your health.
Wow, it's Traffic Jam with Kareem.
Thursday at 4 p.m.
Hey, Traffic Jam. Rainier Avenue Radio. Download the app so you don't miss out. What's poppin', what's crackin', what's happening? It's your boy, Cream the Dream, on another beautiful week on here on Traffic Jam in Seattle. I hope you guys doing what you're supposed to do, being you're supposed to be. I got a good show for y'all. A lot to talk about. You know, Kareem the Dream, keep up with everything.
Get your entertainment news with Kareem on the Traffic Jam Thursday at 4 p.m.
Are you in need of new or gently used clothing? Hope's Community Closet is here to help. We offer a wide range of clothing for men, women, youth, children, and infants. Join us on the fourth Saturday of each month from 12:30 to 4 at the Silent Task Force. We're giving clothing with care, community with heart. Lovely Ladies Lemonade for sale, and shop to the sound of old school soul. Any questions? Contact Alicia Kennedy, Executive Director of Women United at 206-316-7601. 206-316-7601. Come and find the perfect outfit for you and your family. We look forward to seeing you there.
You know you can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio.
I love the bumper. Daniel, I love the bumper. You turn it down too quickly. I don't hear the bumper. The bumper of Rainier Avenue Radio. Juan, Cotto touching bases with you. With our guest, Mick Hoffman, on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio .world, talking about high school sports on WIAA Primetime. And Mick, thank you so much for spending this hour with us on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. Mick, I've got a couple of questions. One off schedule, one on schedule. I'm going to ask you about the best moments of the fall. I'm going to share with you my best moment of the fall, as I think I may have told you last July. Seems like it's so long now, but we were playing a baseball game up in Everett. Clemente slid the second base, fractured his fibula, had to rush him to the emergency room. 5 days later, he had surgery and was out for the rest of the select baseball season, and unfortunately was have to miss a great deal of football season. And obviously you have to deal with the young, fragile nature of young men, and missing a big part of what has become their identity. He was able to get that ankle healed up, started physical therapy, and last week against I believe it was Jamie Plinkovich and those guys up there at Ferndale, Clemente got on the field and got a chance to play at the end of that ball game, and that to me was one of the best moments for my family and I, to see all the work that he put into it, to see him going through physical therapy, to see him push through the doubt. There were several times along the way that they were concerned just for him and going out and playing the physical nature of football. And did he want to do that? But he put in the work. He worked with his physical therapist and has been able to get back out on the field after having the surgery and after having to have a bone heal. And we were really, really thankful to see that. And for us, it was a big moment. For several parents came up at the game and told us just what that meant to them in terms of seeing a young person. And I was just wondering, from your perspective, as you've gone throughout our state and you always get to see some neat stories, was there anything this year that kind of stuck out to you in regards to young people overcoming things, coaches who do a great job in the community, and kind of capture something strong from high school sports in the fall?
Yeah, first, thanks for sharing that story. I mean, congrats to you and Clemente and your family. I mean, so many kids would give up and walk away at that point, and to do that, it really gives, I mean, it shows how important, what sports and activities can do for kids. I mean, how much work that put in there. I'm going to guess he's probably not quite that motivated with his chores and even the books, even though I know he's a good student, where, to be that self-motivated and overcome such hardship to be a part of something. So that's a great story. I mean, that's right there tells you what this is about. So well done, Dad. Couple other ones that I got to witness this last weekend specifically was West Valley girls out of Spokane won the 2A soccer championship, and their AD, Jamie Nillis, who's a pros pro. I was talking to him and congratulating him, and he said, our team has not been scored on all year. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we talked about other things. Thought maybe I misheard him. I thought maybe he meant playoffs or what have you. So came back to the office and I was talking to staff. I'm like, wow, can you believe this? And so Tegan, who's a soccer guy, played up at Western, he told me today, he goes, hey, I checked it out. They did not give up a goal all year. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome to see. They played a really good Columbia River team and shut them out 1-0. The other one that was probably the coolest for me was at State Swim a couple weeks ago, won the relays. Centralia High School made the finals in a relay, 4-person relay, 4 girls. And they were in lane 8 of 8, and they finished 8th. And they celebrated more so than the state champions. I mean, their coaches were literally sobbing. The girls were sobbing. You had these 6 individuals on this team hugging it out right there on the deck because they had set their team record, right? They just set a school record in that event. Yep, they were last place of the final heat, but it wasn't about being 8th place. It wasn't about not winning. They had set a goal and they achieved it. And you could tell how incredibly important it was. An awesome scene. And everybody recognized what was going on. And you think about that when I was up at West Coast speaking, which I had to file Brian Walters showing off a Super Bowl ring. Then here comes Mick Hoffman, talk to you about sportsmanship. Thank you very much, Dan Taylor, my good friend. But I shared that story with him about when I talk about setting realistic goals and that. And like people stood up and cheered for that team out of the West Coast League. I don't even think they know where Centralia is, but just the story in itself. So, that's what I get lucky to do. That's why we get in the car and drive around and check these things out, is you get to just bear witness to these moments in kids' lives that they're never going to forget. And, Clemente getting on the field after all that time, he's never going to forget that. He gets playing the semifinals. They're fortunate enough to continue. We've got a tough one, right? Bellevue this week. Going to be a heck of a football game. But again, for kids to work so hard and then to be able to appreciate what they got, even if it isn't a state championship. So I think those are awesome stories.
And now the off-schedule question, and Mick, I don't want to surprise you, and I know you follow these things as I do, and I get questions from parents and get people who call in and talk for a few minutes. Rainier Beach High School basketball, already strong program, and a program that certainly is one of the premier programs in the country, and rightfully so. I had an opportunity to meet Jamal Crawford this past fall. I went to an event at Rainier Beach and he was there, had a great conversation with him, and what an incredible young person he is. I said, you're an awesome young man. He's like, you're getting older now. I'm like, no, dude, you're way younger than me. And certainly from an athletic standpoint, you may be getting older, but what he's done for that community down there, it's incredible. And Mike Bethea and their incredible basketball program that they've run and they've run so well. The number one player in the country suddenly ends up at Rainier Beach. And, a lot of people kind of raise brows. I'm sure that you guys probably heard some things about it down in Renton. And once again, if you could just kind of go over us with the structure of that and athletes who are coming from now different states, what happens in that type of situation and how does the WIAA look at it?
Yeah, I mean, the same rules apply to everybody the same, whether they're the, 900th ranked player in the state or the number one player in the country. So, we know Seattle Public Schools is, we've talked about some of the situations we've been dealing with the last couple of years. And so we know Tara and Mr. Howard are, working with their schools and making sure they understand the rules and following the rules. So, they go through that process. If a family moves, And, where they move to is where they're eligible at. And if they choose to move into, the Rainier Beach service area, then they're eligible at the Rainier Beach service area. We have provisions for athletic reasons. So you got to have evidence of that. It can't be suspicions. It has to be proven. And, you got Coach Bethea and Coach Crawford. I mean, you got two guys who've been working with young men in that, you have consistency in that program. And, people are going to want to be a part of that when they get the opportunity. So there's young kids throughout the city and the state, probably hoping that they can also go there in the next 5 to 6 years. And we're not going to treat this any different than anything else. The school makes their initial eligibility reviews. And then if they deem a need to have it reviewed further, there's a process. And we'll follow the process like we would with any other young person. But I will tell you, I'm interested in watching this guy play. I've heard he's pretty special. So,
and it also, I mean, it's and you and I both know. I mean, there are some kids who you coach that are incredibly talented or incredibly wonderful, and they don't cause a problem with you in school or in the community. There are some kids, and we know how that also goes, and they're certainly not. I don't think there are bad kids and good kids. I think there are kids who are motivated, and we work with them. Some kids attract a little bit more trouble. So it sounds like in his area there may be some problems going on, and obviously to come to Seattle, maybe get a fresh start. Maybe this is an opportunity for a young man to save himself in a certain respect. And I think that's something that's important that sports should have an opportunity to do as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's really. I tell people all the time, our goal with sports is to keep people connected to their education, keep them connected to the school community. So, and like I said, there's rules. If a full family moves, a full family moves. And if where they live is where they play. And, we have thousands of kids transfer every year. We now have a program that we're able to track those. Just to find out, to have a true number of transfers, how many from any one school, how many to any one school. We're shared that with the schools. Our membership has consistently said, hey, we're member driven. We look at it first, but within that, there's also provisions in our rules that if somebody thinks the school is not following the rules or enforcing them properly, they can report that, and that starts a whole investigative process. So there's plenty of rules in place for people who have suspicions and evidence, and otherwise it's just rumors, and action is not taken on rumors.
Multi-sport athletes, the ones who are playing football or they're playing a fall sport, and particularly football where it is taxing your system a little bit, but you want to come out and you want to play basketball or you want to wrestle. What are they doing? What are the athletic directors? What are the rules? And how do we make sure that kid is healing up enough from football and getting the necessary short rest that they need before they participate in those other rigorous winter sports?
Yeah, really, there's a difference from school to school. Some schools are very blessed to have athletic trainers and athletic training programs. So kids are getting some regular, not necessarily PTOT, but definitely services and being able to be reviewed. Some have good access to outside medical care and some don't. And so it's really important that coaches are paying attention to their kids coming out of, even if they weren't in school sports, but club sports, to see what kind of conditioning there is. We have rules in place. There's a certain amount of preseason practices that have to be completed before you can compete in a contest. And that's to make, to do the best we can to assure the kids ready to compete physically at that higher competitive level where their bodies tax a little bit more. There are provisions in place to be able to waive some of those practices if they've made a postseason run. So not to punish a kid for being on a successful team. So, there's a lot of different ways in there. They need physicals, current physicals in place and all that. So some schools are able to provide some nutrition and those either through grants or through funding from the school. Some are not. And so everybody's a little bit different.
Mick, do you ever think we'll see, and I know especially the football season, even golf is getting a little longer now, these sports in the fall. are really starting to extend themselves a little bit. Do you ever think we'll see a transition week, maybe just taking a week off of sports and then starting the winter sports after that? Or is it just because of the nature of the 9-month academic calendar that we have to just kind of coordinate it and schedule it the way it is?
Yeah, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, we don't have an actual overlap in our season. There's actually time built off in there potentially if you're not into a deep playoff run. So teams that lost in week 10 or didn't play week 10 and finished after week 9, they had a couple weeks off before the fall season. So it really depends on. So if it's after the state championships, I would find it highly unlikely that our schools would do that because kids will be sitting around. I know with it's a modified year-round calendar. Some schools are trying now, starting a little bit earlier in August with school, going a little bit later in June and July, taking longer extended breaks through the year. But even with that, most of the states are doing it, are keeping a similar NFHS-based calendar because if students are off at different times, they don't want to force them to feel like they can't go someplace with their family or go work or what have you. So yeah, it's definitely a logistical challenge. Schools will always ask for more games, which compresses that schedule even more. So I don't see us taking 2 or 3 weeks out of that schedule. But again, 5 schools could propose it. Rep Assembly could vote it in and or request it, our board to change those seasons. So
a compressed schedule is something that we have gotten used to at Rainier Avenue Radio. If you like world music, we have it. If you like interesting talk and discussions about a variety of different things, including high school sports, we have that. And thank goodness we're not going to be politicking for a little while, Daniel. Let me tell you something, brother. I was just like, when that season was over, I just felt like catching my breath after running a marathon. You saw that here as your community election connection, as it was labeled. And I'm so glad that we are done with the community elections. And new King County Executive Guilherme Zahle, I believe, was sworn in today. And other changes will be coming from the election season we just had. But you followed all of that on your community radio station, Rainier Avenue Radio.world. And we have more to come as we head into the holiday season. And certainly WIAA Primetime will be here. Juan on Rainier will be here. And we will be bringing in fascinating guests to sit and speak and learn more about things going on in our community. So always a pleasure to have Mick Hoffman here. Always a pleasure to represent us on this community radio station. The fan experience, Mick, shifts dramatically in some cases. I'm gonna go to a couple of these flag football games. I kind of want to see this. But the fan experience shifts dramatically from outdoor to indoor environments. Everyone's a little bit closer together now. How does that change the culture of school sports from crowd behavior to student spirit?
Yeah, there's a lot more crowd management. So this is where we really rely on our student leaders to find a way to have some fun, keep people entertained in a positive way, not singling out students and doing some of that other craziness that it really ends up ruining the experience for everybody. So yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge. But I'll tell you, there's a football. You'll be at state football this year, I'm sure, won't you? So we at volleyball, we're trying to make our events, right? That's one of the challenges, another challenge to the staff. So at volleyball, at the end of a championship game, first when they get introduced, we got smoke going and light show and all that at the start. Then we play the game. The game gets over. We got confetti flying through the air with the confetti gun. But what they did this year as well for the introduction in the last championship games is a light show with cell phones. So your phone, instead of just having it on the flashlight, it actually, if you download the app, Gisa sponsors this for us, but it plays the light flashes to the music, and then in between were pictures of the girls and highlights from the tournament of the semifinal game of the teams in the championship one. So we're going to roll that out. The University of Washington media group promotion group is going to work with us during football to do a little more action with the lights and some other things. So we're hoping to give the fans a little bit more of that Division I professional feel at these high school events. We're fortunate enough to be in the big events and have all the toys there, so we're going to go for it a little bit, keep stretching it a little bit.
It's part of the games themselves. I mean, this is sports is entertainment, sports is marketing, and the WIAA really does a nice job of allowing certainly the entertainment aspect of it. I thought they did a really nice job in Renton. You're just not bored waiting for halftime anymore. There's always some really good announcements. You have the bands that come out on the field and play, and I know that schools who are fortunate to have bands, it's so much fun to have those youngsters participate. But it really is becoming a little bit more of an entertainment opportunity. It's good to hear that the WIAA is trying to engage fans in that perspective.
Yeah, we try to do it through our social media quite a bit as well. So through our Twitter and Facebook and what have you, to where we have our staff out there constantly doing some visual reels and those kinds of things. So that's where we get a lot of our student leadership kids will come in and help with some of that. So yeah, I mean, we want fans to know who the competitors are, who the teams are, have some fun with it, and then recognize those, the Clementes of the world have been working their tails off, get on the field and let people around the state enjoy their work.
Are there efforts underway to make winter sports a little bit more accessible and inclusive? And I guess an example would be streamlining transportation and working on improving gym scheduling. And obviously, it seems like we have more and more kids and not as much gym space, or increasing volunteer support. How are we looking at those matters?
Yeah, schools, more and more schools are starting to stack their contests, so boys, girls on the same night, or play multiple games so they can transport together and try to cut some of those transportation costs, or just even have transportation drivers. Teams are traveling a little bit less, which is kind of a bummer, but also understandable. They're trying to do more localized tournaments, so running a holiday tournament locally with teams from around the region rather than having to travel out of state and hotels and do all that. So not play the same teams over and over, but if you're fortunate enough to be in a large metro complex like Seattle, Tacoma, the I-5 corridor, be able to play some games against people that maybe you don't normally play. So yeah, schools are getting creative, trying to do some creative fundraising and those kinds of things, and hopefully the community sees the value and continues to support levies that help fund these opportunities.
Tell us about the role that booster clubs are playing in terms of trying to, and I always not to say try, because what did Yoda say? Don't say try, just do. But tell us about how the role that booster clubs are utilizing to work on sustaining the momentum during the quieter winter months of athletics in high school, as opposed to some of the more high-profile sports, particularly around football in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the school, sometimes the winter is the big sport at a school, right? Basketball or wrestling or what have you. But that being, the boosters do a lot of the work. And when you talk about trying to save some money, right, that's a place that they do it. They're running the concession stands, helping their teams earn some money. They're doing various fundraisers. They're feeding kids after school, especially on game days. They're bringing in treats. Some of them are doing community services and making, the experience more than just about what they do in competition. So, I mean, booster clubs are critical to the overall success in some of the schools, especially those schools that are struggling financially.
They did a really nice job of it in Renton on Saturday, and I've heard it throughout the high school playoffs, and I've seen it on the NFHS network as well. I feel that the WIAA is doing this. Mick, how are we doing in regards to officials? And if anybody is interested in being an official, what can we do to promote them and encourage them to become one?
Yeah, we're actually seeing an uptick in numbers, which is good because now we create competition in officiating, right? So you get the better officials. Anytime we're challenged, we're going to get better. And so So that's good. The one place we're really struggling for numbers is in the spring. If you recall, we lost 2 spring seasons with COVID, that first year and the second year. So we just haven't quite recovered there. But what are we doing? We're constantly promoting. You go on our website, you can sign up. Go on the WIAA website, you can sign up. Just had banners up over in the Sundome with a QR code that if people are interested in being one, schools can get those same QR codes and banners and put them up so that parent who's officiating from the stands has something that they can a way they can get involved and actually get paid for their unsolicited advice. And so those are things we're trying to do. We give free passes for the year to officials who get in there and do all their training. So I think we're doing some, Todd and team are doing a really good job getting numbers out. There's more schools. East Valley of Yakima had 28 students in an officiating class this year. So they were helping out and observing at state volleyball. They're going to do the same thing this winter with basketball. And then they're looking at doing track and field in the spring, since that's a sport that we need a lot of volunteers and officials. So, there's a lot of good momentum going on with it right now. So we'll see.
Mick, last question. What message do you have for student athletes, coaches, and fans as we close the book on fall and open the doors to a new winter season?
Yeah, first, thanks. The amount of work that goes into schools. These winter sports started a year ago. Literally, the season ends and you're already starting. Kids are back in the weight room already, and they're getting doing all their off-season work, and then they're going to do their work in the summer with their coaches. So first of all, thank you for making incredible efforts and going out and competing. And for those that do it the right way with integrity and pick their teammates up and set realistic goals, really appreciate that type of leadership. Our coaches, I joke about, at soccer, we have 7-8 people want to be on the sidelines as coaches. Football has 30 that want to be on the sideline as coaches. If we knew those 8 or those 30 were at practice every single day, that would be one thing. Everybody wants a coach at the end. But for those coaches that grind it out every single day, hats off to you, because that's the toughest job that I know of in the schoolhouse. So, we just are eternally grateful for the people who are out there working hard, whether they're students or the adults.
Mick, as usual, we just it goes without saying, we appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with us and answer some questions and share with us your vision from the WIAA and the great staff you have down there on Primetime Weekly. So thank you so much, and we wish you and your family nothing but the very, very best for this Thanksgiving season.
Yeah, no, thank you for being a pro and running this show with Daniel. And I really appreciate Rainier Avenue Radio's interest in high school sports. It's great to be able to get our message out to people. So thank you.
Tomorrow night, Sasha Lee, who is the executive director and marketing specialist for Seattle Scores, which is a soccer group, will be on Juan on Rainier. It was a really interesting conversation, learning more about preparations for the World Cup and the role that soccer plays to really influence kids in our communities throughout Southeast and Central Seattle. And what a wonderful, energetic young lady she is. And we hope you'll tune in and have a chat with her on Juan on Rainier. And we will see you in a couple of weeks on your community radio station with the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association Executive Director Mick Hoffman right here on WIAA Primetime. Until then, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.